Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing on topic that is city creation. In this basically we are discussing this Microsoft cell basically, Microsoft process. And above basically we discuss what basically the 15 years plan basically which is getting created. So that basically whenever the the party basically which is going to rule basically this group basically is going to rule in 2020. So that basically it would be easy to rule basically. So 15 years plan basically they have already made basically, that is government basically, and they are, if they takes basically 15 years to create the rule, create the plan basically, so plan is never going to change basically, that is 100% sure. So that is this group basically who do the plan basically, and this group basically are in front of the world basically, but really basically their professors are basically there who are handling this group basically. Reason, everything is data basically, from where the datas are coming basically, and on the base of data basically every plan basically are designed. For example, Airtel basically got how many words basically in the environment, Jio got how many words, Tata got how many words, BSNL got how many words, MTNL got how many words, and this group basically are connected with which Rocky Talkie data basically. So this everything basically data na, basically everything is data basically. So that data basically is basically generated by this group basically, and this group basically are connected with the IITs and IIM basically, and this all group. So in short basically the 15 years plans basically are done by the education industry basically. Still basically they are handling the education industries only basically, handling things basically. So in this basically one of the person told that how basically Microsoft basically is going to handle, Microsoft is going to handle this group, or basically Microsoft is handled by this group basically. Then one of the person told that Microsoft basically is having just one place basically in Rocky Talkie, which is 100 types of Rocky Talkies there basically. So that group is basically handling everything, who are basically the infrastructure creator basically, who are basically the infrastructure creator basically, and infrastructure groups basically are handled by certain groups basically. That is because this need to create here basically. So infrastructure groups are going to create, but that has to be planned basically, from where the material are going to be. For example, one city is going to create vegetable, so that vegetable basically is going to create basically from where the materials are going to come basically. So who is going to do that plan basically? So that without planning basically nothing is going to happen basically. If you say that basically 100 buildings here, 100 buildings here, otherwise then basically you will generate the energy basically, then it is not going to generate vegetable also, it's not going to generate fruit also basically. Then what is going to generate basically, that will be the question basically. So without plan basically nothing basically happens. So that's basically the doctors group of the environment basically, and of the land basically, who handles everything basically. So energy do groups, medical industry, then the construction groups, and then the blood cells industry groups. So each and every groups basically are there basically, they basically handle, and each and every group basically clears themselves basically, because in future it might possible that some issue will happen. So each and every group have to clear that basically, that this is not basically happened due to us basically, it has happened due to that person basically, that group basically. So that's why each and every group basically who creates the thing basically, they keeps themselves clear basically, themselves clear basically, that this basically plan was basically done by me, and this plan was basically done by me, and this plan basically was done by me basically. For example, Microsoft blood cells, Microsoft architecture created. So how basically Microsoft architect means 1000 city basically. So how basically the 1000 city was created basically, what is going to generate basically, it's going to generate fruits, it's going to generate this that basically, or basically it's going to generate what actually. Because Accenture group basically say that basically we want to generate fruit basically, so Accenture basically can't generate the fruits basically, they basically just have the data basically, but the main infrastructure basically, that is the base of the apple creation or basically the vegetable creation, that is with the base company only, that is Microsoft, SAP, Java, C++, COBOL, that group basically. This data basically nobody have basically. So this group only basically keeps the control, and this group decide basically whether the Accenture can create the apple or can create the because that depends upon the data basically. So first they clears the data, and then only basically they starts creating the Apple creation energy structure basically. In that basically the Microsoft takes certain level of data basically. That is, data means money basically. So you can just imagine basically. And in that basically certain level of disease gets generated, and in this certain level of medicine basically gets generated. So here the main is what? This basically, sand basically. In sand basically percentage of sand basically generated from whom basically? Ladies or basically the men basically, or by the other group basically. That basically don't this data basically in this world basically nobody have this data basically, and this data is only the main data basically, and this data only basically the earth planet don't have basically. See basically. So this basically the software industry's problem basically. They were supposed to handle this everything basically, and this is the main data, and this data only they don't have basically. See basically, on the base of this only basically the entire universe is created, and this data only they don't have. But the universe group basically might be having this data, because they have the positive data and they have the negative data both sides basically. So which data basically is negative and which data is positive, that group basically have. And in this basically negative data, ladies are also there, gents are all basically there, and other groups basically are also there. So each and every group basically are there basically. So you can just imagine to create this much. So one of the person told that basically the IIT groups basically know that basically the AppTech basically the Microsoft is going to create this 13150 plan basically is created, and is going maintaining the, and how many groups basically are there of this particular age basically. They have the data basically. According to that only basically they do the plan basically. According to that only basically they do the plan basically, which is going to execute by the governments basically, which is going to execute by the governments. So government, one of the people of the government basically told that basically the Supreme Court, High Court basically they takes the decision, right basically. So they are going to take this decision that is planned long before, that is 15 years before only basically they have planned. So according to that the ruling party ruled, according to that the governments do the plan. So each and every things basically are planned by the government basically. So they are not going to waste that plan basically, because it's 15 years before only basically they have plan basically. So each and everything which is going to happen, that is 100% going to happen basically, because it's everything is planned basically. That's why. And each and every country's plan basically are connected with each other. For example, India Supreme Court has taken this decision, that is directly going to affect to another country basically, and another country is going to affect connected to another country. Like this basically every entire chain basically is connected. That's why basically if one will stop, then basically the whole world is going to stop. So one of the person told that that's why basically the Asian country has divided, the land has divided into 11 parts, so that basically if one will stop basically another stuff basically groups are basically already there basically. So universe stuff basically is not supposed to stop basically. Whether the earth planet stops, that's no issue basically, but universe stuff is not supposed to stop basically. So that's why basically they had divided. So this is also one of the stuff basically, one of the tasks basically. Due to that basically the land basically has divided into the 11 parts basically. So next video basically we are going to see a little bit more about this basically, what is the age and how basically the governments do the plans, how basically Supreme Courts take the decision, and they are going to take this decision, and according to that basically how basically the governments groups do the plan. In field work basically the Supreme Court, High Court people basically are not going to jump basically, right? They are not going to jump basically into the High Court and Supreme Court, into the field basically, that is into the city basically, into this state basically, into the countries basically. They are going to take decision according to the data basically long before basically they are going to take the decision, and that data basically they have it basically, and everything basically is connected with this data. Each and everything basically in this world basically, whatever things happen. So in next video basically we are going to say a little bit more about this.